Hi, everybody. I wanted to pop in today and talk to you about my latest writing. It's only oatmeal. And I call these little snippets of videos penny heart to heart because I come to you and I talk to you about my writing and I tell you things that are in my heart when I wrote the writing, what brought me the idea, and why I thought it was important. So I'm going to talk today about this writing, and I just posted it actually last night on Facebook, and it's up on my website. And tonight it will be the writing that's in my newsletter for those of you who get my newsletter. But I wanted to share this because it's such an important story to me. You've heard me talk about my dad in the past, and you know that my dad passed away in 2005. It's been a long time. But this was a story because I write a lot about grief and things that happened between my dad and my mom and my son passing away. And so many times it's such a sad, heartbreaking time. But this was a funny story. And I think it's important that we see humor during those kind of times in our lives. So I shared the story, It's Only Oatmeal. And here's what happened. My dad had idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is a lung disease, the hardening of the lungs. And he came to a time where he was unable to get in the car and go to the doctor's appointments. And so we were very fortunate in that his physician was the director of hospice in his community, and he would stop by on his way home from work to check on my dad. So it was so great that he would do that. And it seemed like such a big, big gift to us that he would stop on his way home and check on my dad and do a house call, in essence. And the reality was for him, it was a little effort because it was on his way. He'd stopped. It didn't seem such a big thing to him, but it was big to us. So he was coming one day, and my dad was confined to his lazy boy chair, and right in front of him was this clock. And it looked like oak, but it wasn't. And my dad would stare at that clock. And I always would think, you know, clocks for us tell us what time to get up, what time to go to bed, what time TV shows are on. And for my dad, it was a countdown of how many more hours he would be with us. A countdown of how much time he had left to live. And that's sad to think about, that my dad sat in that chair and watched the clock. But on this particular day, we were expecting the doctor to stop by. So my dad was watching the clock, my mom was watching my dad, I was watching my mom was watching me, and back and forth. And we were just kind of sitting there staring at each other and staring at this clock. And then when the doctor came, it was like a breath of fresh air came in. Because when you live in a space where you know that someone is ill and it's a space of caretaking, the air gets kind of stagnant. And when the doctor would come in, not only did he bring the fresh air in from outside, but he brought hope and compassion. And so on this day, he chit-chatted, he took my dad's blood pressure, he checked his heart and lungs. And then my dad, who was on oxygen, said, "I've got something that's really worrying me." And he said, "It's on my chest." So he tried to unbutton his pajama top, and he was shaky and weak. So the doctor helped him, and the doctor reached for a reading lamp that was close by and pulled it and held it over my dad's chest. Now, my mom stood on one side, I was standing with the doctor, but we were all leaning over my dad to look at this, that he was pointing to, this growth, like a scab, crusty growth on his chest. And he explained that to the doctor that it hadn't been there, that it was just like it appeared, and he was really concerned about it, and it was kind of itching and bothering him. So the doctor studied it for a while, and then he said, it looks like, and then he took his finger like this, how you flick a bug, and he flicked this scabby thing, and it flew across my dad's chest. And the doctor said, "It looks like oatmeal." And we started laughing. My dad had had oatmeal for breakfast, and evidently a drop of it had dropped on his chest. And of course, oatmeal forms this scabby, crusty thing quickly. So my dad thought this just appeared, and I don't know what it is. And we were wondering, he hadn't showed it to my mom or to myself, and so we didn't know either. But it was so funny when the doctor did that, and we realized what it was. And he laughed, and my mom laughed, and I had tears rolling down my face, and my stomach was aching like you get that ache from big belly laughs. And my dad on oxygen he couldn't really laugh, but he was trying to, and the oxygen machine was making a horrible noise, trying to keep up with him needing more oxygen because he was trying to laugh. But what it pointed out to me is when in life, especially during tragic times, big things become little. Like the big things in life that we worry about really become very unimportant. I said in the writing, when you're dying and you know you're dying, you really get a handle on what's important and what's not. So the big things that we all worry about day to day in our lives, when you're sitting in that lazy boy watching the clock, they become little things. They're not so important. But what else happens is small things become big. So the act of the doctor stopping to see my dad, a small thing to that doctor, was huge for us. The idea that my dad thought this little spot on his chest was such a big, big, scary thing, the reality was it was oatmeal. It was a little tiny thing that he had blown out of proportion in his head. So sometimes in life we get these things skewed, and we have to sit and think about what really is big in life and what is small. So my life lesson for the writing was sometimes during times of stress and especially tragedy, big things become small and small things become big. So when you can do small gifts of generosity and love and kindness, they become so big to people in that kind of situation. And then the rest of us that are healthy and happy and moving through life, and we think these big things turn into this big drama, and the reality is they're small. So I just think it's kind of funny to say when something like this happens, you can say it's only oatmeal. Now, I just had a thing happen. Actually, today is my husband's birthday, and it's one of those 0 birthdays. It's a big birthday. And he was not very happy about the 0 birthday coming. So for the last couple of weeks, he's been stewing and stressing and thinking, with every 0 birthday, you get older. And he was worried and concerned and sometimes cranky. And this morning he got up and he said, it's only oatmeal, because he read my writing. And the fact of the matter is, I think so many times we stew and worry and stress about something that might happen, something that's coming up. And when we actually get to that moment and experience that, it's not that big of a deal. It's only oatmeal. So that's why I wrote it. I love to write stories about people I love and care about, and my dad is one of those people, and he taught me so many life lessons, and this is one he didn't even realize he was teaching, but it was a funny experience during a time of real stress and sadness for us. So that's another lesson in this, to always look for the humor, because you can find humor in everything that is happening in life, even if it's tragic and sad, and if you're in the middle of grief or struggling, you can always find humor in something. So this has been Penny Heart to Heart. If you haven't read it, I always put the link with this so you can go, and there's audio with it. I always cut the audio, so if you want to turn it on and listen to it instead of reading it, you can always do that. It will be in the newsletter tonight if you'd like to read it there, or I also encourage you always to share it with others. So I appreciate those. I see we've had a couple of my friends on listening today. I appreciate that. And now I will let you get back to your day. This has been Penny Heart to Heart. Thanks for watching.